The alien woman arrived on Earth the same day the oceans stopped rising. For decades, the seas had crept inland, swallowing cities, erasing borders, reminding humanity that time was running out. Then, without warning, the tides froze in place. Satellites confirmed it within hours. Global sea levels had stabilized to the millimeter. No natural explanation fit. That was when the object appeared in the sky. It didn't blaze like a meteor or roar like a rocket. It simply was a silver arc hanging above the Pacific, bending light around it as if reality itself were uncertain how to behave. Every screen on Earth carried the image within minutes. Governments scrambled. Militaries mobilized. People prayed, panicked, and watched. 3 hours later, the object opened. She descended alone, not in a beam of light, but in a controlled fall, as graceful as a leaf. She landed on the deck of an abandoned research platform off the coast of California, where a multinational team had already been rushed by helicopter. Dr. Elias Morin stood at the front, heart hammering, recorder shaking in his hand. He had spent his life studying the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence. He had never truly believed he would be right. She looked mostly human at first glance. 2 arms, 2 legs, upright posture. But her skin carried a subtle iridescence, like oil on water. Her eyes were too dark, reflecting no light at all. When she spoke, her voice bypassed the air entirely and formed directly in their minds. "Do not be afraid." Several people cried anyway. "I am called Asha," the voice continued. "I come as an emissary. I will help you." Elias swallowed. "Help us how?" She turned her gaze toward him, and for a moment he felt as if his entire life, every mistake, every hope, had been gently examined. "Your planet is approaching a collapse you cannot reverse alone," Asha said. "I can stabilize key systems, climate, tectonics, atmospheric loss." A murmur rippled through the team. "What do you want in return?" Elias asked. Asha paused. It was the first sign she might not be omniscient.
"Time," she said.
"And trust." Within days, her presence reshaped the world. Massive storms dissolved before landfall. Failing ecosystems rebounded with impossible speed. The alien technology, organic, self-repairing structures grown from her ship, integrated seamlessly with Earth systems. Humanity called it a miracle. Others called it a trap. Asha refused to meet politicians or military leaders alone. She insisted on transparency, on shared oversight. Still, fear festered. What power could halt planetary collapse so effortlessly? And what price would eventually be demanded? Elias became her primary liaison. He was chosen, he suspected, not for his rank, but for his curiosity. He asked questions she answered honestly, sometimes with words, sometimes with images of stars dying and civilizations fading. One evening, as the sun dipped below a calm, unfamiliar ocean, Elias asked the question that haunted him. "Why us?" Asha watched the horizon. "Your species stands at an inflection point," she replied. "You are capable of great destruction, but also of change. Most do not reach this moment." "And your people?" Elias asked. "Why help at all?" "Because we once failed," she said. Over the following months, Earth stabilized. Crops flourished. Resources rebounded. The constant background anxiety of extinction began to fade. Children born that year would grow up without knowing the word collapse as a daily reality. That was when Asha announced she would leave. The declaration came without warning, broadcast to every connected device on the planet. "My intervention has altered your trajectory," she said. "But continued presence risks dependency. You must choose your future without my influence." Panic returned instantly. "You can't just leave," leaders argued. What if the systems fail again? They will not, Asha replied. Not unless you choose paths that lead them to. Elias met her one last time at the platform. You're abandoning us, he said quietly. She shook her head, a human gesture she had learned over time.
No.
I am trusting you. When will you come back? He asked. Asha met his eyes. When you no longer need me, or when you truly call. Promise. Elias asked before he could stop himself. She placed a hand over her chest. I promise. And then she was gone. The ark vanished. The skies returned to normal. Earth was alone again. Years passed. At first, humanity tried. Renewable systems expanded. Cooperation treaties held. The memory of near extinction lingered like a scar. But scars fade. Old rivalries resurfaced. Resource hoarding returned under new names. The alien technology remained, but understanding it fully proved impossible. Maintenance faltered. Systems degraded. Elias aged, watching with quiet dread. He published warnings. He testified before councils that no longer listened. They'll come back, people said. She promised. Then the failures began. Ocean currents destabilized. Artificial climate regulators malfunctioned. Not catastrophically at first, just enough to spark arguments, blame, conflict. When the first limited war broke out over access to a stabilizer array, Elias felt something break inside him. He stood alone one night on the same platform where Asha had landed decades before. The ocean below churned with unfamiliar patterns. We're calling, he whispered into the empty sky. You said to call. Nothing happened. Months turned into years. The damage accelerated. Without full understanding, humanity had treated Asha's gift like an inheritance, not a responsibility. Elias died believing the promise had been broken. But it hadn't. The first sign was subtle, stars shifting positions by fractions of a degree. Astronomers noticed anomalies in deep space readings, movements that defied known physics. Then the sky opened again. This time, Asha did not come alone. Hundreds of arcs emerged from hyperspace, forming a silent constellation around Earth. The sight halted every conflict instantly. Weapons powered down. Cities fell silent. Asha descended once more, unchanged by time. Her voice echoed across the planet. You called. I returned. This time, her tone carried something new, not anger, but sorrow. You were given a chance to grow beyond what you were. You chose familiarity over responsibility. Leaders pleaded, apologized, promised reform. Asha raised a hand. This is not judgment. This is consequence. What happens now? A trembling voice asked. Now, she said, we begin again, but differently. She explained that her species were not conquerors but custodians, travelers who intervened at pivotal moments. Most civilizations failed even after intervention. A few learned. Earth stood at the threshold of its final test. Asha offered a choice. Her people would integrate openly this time, not as silent stabilizers, but as teachers. Knowledge would be shared fully, but sovereignty would be limited. Certain destructive paths would no longer be allowed. Or, she would leave forever, taking with her all remaining stabilizing systems. Earth would face the consequences alone. There was no illusion of a third option. The debate raged for days. Pride warred with survival. Independence with humility. In the end, the answer came not from governments but from people. Mass demonstrations filled cities, not in protest, but in admission. We don't know how to do this alone, the message said. Teach us. Asha listened. Then we stay. The transition was painful. Industries collapsed. Militaries dissolved. Entire economic models were rewritten. But slowly, genuinely, humanity changed, not because it was forced, but because the alternative had already failed. Years later, children learned about the time of leaving and the time of return, about the promise that was kept not on human schedules, but on a deeper understanding of readiness. Asha often walked among humans now, no longer distant, no longer singular. She watched oceans heal properly this time, watched cooperation become habit instead of emergency. One evening, on a quiet shore, she stood where Elias once had. "You waited too long," the wind seemed to say. She closed her eyes. "No," she answered silently. "I returned exactly when you were ready to listen." The stars above shone steadily. This time, humanity would not forget why.